Hey guys, and welcome to Idahoflylife. My name's John. This is the 10 things you need for fly fishing. Welcome guys. So today we're going to talk about the 10 things you need for fly fishing. This is a getting started guide for you new fly fishermen out there. We're going to get right into this, make it really short and sweet. So the first thing you're going to need, of course, is a fly rod. Now, a lot of different kind of fly rods. If you're just getting started, we are being trout specific here. If you're just getting started into trout fishing, you're going to want a 9-foot 5-weight. Now, however much you want to spend on a rod, that's really your choice, but what I really would recommend is going into a fly shop and casting these rods. So just to give you an example, we've got a $500 rod here, which happens to be my favorite. This is an Orvis Recon. It's a fantastic rod that my wife also happened to buy for me. This is actually a 4-weight, but this is a Redington Classic trout. They make this in a 5-weight. It is a slower rod than the Recon is. Fantastic rod, right at about $200 price point. This is, if you're going to start, this is kind of where I would start, the $100 to $200 just for the rod range. The next one that we've got is a Martin, and this is a 8-foot 5-weight. This is a $50 total combo, and I'm going to steer you away from doing this. And the reason I'm going to steer you away from doing this is the reel you get, it's a click paw reel. It's not fantastic. The line is just a level fly line, and it's kind of a junk line, and you're gonna outgrow this really quickly. And this rod is ridiculously heavy. I mean, you can see the difference, and I'm gonna show you up close. You can see the difference here between how thick this Martin rod is and this Orvis rod is. And I mean, that's probably double the weight of this Orvis Recon. And it's not fun to cast with, but if this is where you have to start, it's still gonna catch fish. My wife and I have both caught fish on this rod, so it's something, depending on where you want to start, that's your price points. The next thing is going to be the reel. And again, this is up to you and your pocketbook, and really how much you want to spend. But here, for my 4-weight, I've got just a really inexpensive Okuma reel. I think these things are like 30 or 40 bucks. It's worked just fine. For a 4-weight fly rod, something like this, or even like a click paw reel, will work. The one thing I will say is I would stay away from composite reels. Anything made out of plastic, it seems like they're way more brittle. If you drop them, they do tend to break a lot easier. Now, as far as reels go, I'm going to recommend this reel. This is a behemoth, so a Redington behemoth reel. For a 9-foot 5-weight, this seems to balance out the rod very, very well. I just love this reel. I mean, the disc drag system, you could tighten this down very, very far. But as far as reels go, I'll leave these two as well as a couple other suggestions like the Lamson Liquid, which is a great starter reel, in the description down below. Now the last thing, and I don't have these up here because they're already on the spools, is a fly line. Now, if you're going to spend money on a rig, spend the money on the fly rod, spend the money on the fly line, and skimp on the reel. Especially for trout fishing, you really don't need drag. You probably will never see your backing, or it will be a very long time before you see your backing. So you're not going to need a great drag system, but the fly line is what makes the fly rod cast correctly. I mean, the fly rod is really just to stick the point with. The fly line is what you're casting. With that in mind, there are basically 2 companies, maybe 3, depending on what you want to do, that I would recommend. Rio makes a fantastic fly line. That's what I've got on here. I've got the gold on here. You can do Airflow, and that's probably my highest recommendation for durability. It's not made out of PVC, but Airflow fly line is fantastic. And then Scientific Angler Amplitude. Their Amplitude series is probably the best casting fly line I've ever had. I've had it on this reel and this rod for about a year now. It is fantastic. Really, if you're gonna go with one, the Amplitude is a good choice. Just remember, these fly lines, about $100, no matter which one you buy. They are well worth the money, but this one definitely will wear a little bit faster than, say, something like an Airflow, one of their classic tapers. I believe they call it the classic taper. You'll tend to get 3-4 years out of an airflow, where something like this you may only get 2 seasons out of. So keep that in mind. We'll go ahead and we'll move on to some other things here. I've got to rearrange the table, just give me a second. All right, so the next thing up, guys, is going to be tapered leaders. These are super important. This is what connects your fly to your fly line. So this is something you're absolutely going to need. Now, I would recommend having tapered leaders in 0x all the way up to 6x, and make sure that they have the leader loop as well, so that you can tie that really quickly and easily onto your fly line. Personally, I like the Rio Power Flex Trout. It's just something I've used for a really long time. I don't break off very many fish with it. I really enjoy having it. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about here, the next thing that you need, going to be hemostats and some kind of nipper. Hemostats, of course, are for unhooking trout, for pulling that hook out of their mouth, as well as crimping the barbs on the hooks. And the nippers are for cutting your fly line. This set of nippers has a few extra features, which we'll get into in a later video, but you absolutely have to have these. You need something to crimp the barbs, you need something to cut the line. So this is an MFC pair of hemostats, as well as just a regular old pair from a fly shop. I think I got these at Jimmy's. They were like $5. I think the MFC were somewhere around $10 to $12. I'll put links to these in the description below. As far as nippers goes, you don't need this set. You can go in, buy a trout specific or a fly fishing specific set of nippers for about $8 at the store. That's all you need. These were about $80. These are the Sims Pro nippers. They do a couple other things, like I said. We'll get to that at a later time. I'll link them both if you want to spend more money, but you don't have to. You need about an $8 set. Okay. Next thing is going to be strike indicators. These are going to show you a strike while you're nymph fishing. Absolutely have to have these if you're going to be nymph fishing. Make this really quick and really easy, okay? Airlocks. This is my preferred strike indicator. It always will be. It is a fantastic strike indicator. They float like a cork. They float all day long. I've got thingamabobbers, airlocks, and a bunch of other stuff. These have pretty much replaced all these other ones for me. So I recommend the airlocks. I'll leave a link to those. The only other indicator that you might need is something like a New Zealand strike indicator, which is a piece of yarn just, on water like behind me here, where these fish are very, very finicky. If they see a big bobber hit the top of the water, they're not going to be real happy. A yarn indicator is great for that. Okay, next thing is sinkers. Again, short and sweet here. You can use lead sinkers in most waters in the United States. I just so happen to fish Yellowstone, so I always use tin sinkers. These are the Loon Skinny Water Camo Drops. Great product. I use maybe 1 tin of these a year. I think they're about $15, so it's a great, as far as cost goes, it's fantastic for that. What you would use this for is getting your nymphs down a little bit farther in the water column, which is something that we have to do. You want to be almost right on the bottom in that strike zone. So you absolutely have to have split shot, and you can either use these or you can use lead. Choice is yours. Okay, next up here, we have floatant. I use Flyagra. I love Flyagra because you can basically float split shot with it. I use it on my foam flies. I use it as a pre-treatment because I tie my own flies. Flyagra's awesome. You can also use gink. I've used gink for many years. I like the gel floatants as well. This happens to be a liquid. It's nice to just be able to dip your fly in the top, and it's going to float all day long. The other thing that you will absolutely need is going to be dry shake. Now, this is Orvis High Float. Doesn't really matter what brand of dry shake you buy. Buy whatever you feel is most cost effective, whatever you like the most. But after you catch a fish, you have to reapply dry shake. So this is really important as well. You need both of these items. All right. Next thing's going to be tippet. So when you break off a fish and when your leader starts getting shorter and shorter, you're going to need spools of tippet. I would recommend having, I think on this one I've got 2x to 6x. I really usually run about 0x to 6x, just so you're not constantly replacing leaders. You get more than 1 or 2 trips out of a leader, which is really important, keeps it cost effective, and these tippet spools are really inexpensive. I think they're $4 or $5 each. So something that everybody has to have. This is what I would recommend would be, again, I believe this is the Rio Power Flex Trout. Same deal. Okay. Next is going to be flies. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because I'm going to give you about 6 different flies that you absolutely need. I'm not going to show you. You can look the flies up on your own. You can look pictures up, or maybe I will post pictures right about now. We'll see. But as far as dry flies go, what I would recommend that you start out with is go buy some Adams flies, either parachute or regular Adams flies, in size 14 through size 18. El Caricatus in size 12 through size 16. For nymphs, start out with a pheasant tail nymph. That is a really, really important nymph to have. It's a mayfly nymph, and I would highly, highly recommend that you have that. Also start out with a hare's ear, a gold-ribbed hare's ear. I've tied that for you. It's a super effective fly. You can see me fish it on previous videos. I mean, it just flat out catches fish. And for those nymphs, you know, size 14 through size 20 is about right. For streamers, I'm only going to recommend one. Get a, a bead head woolly bugger. I don't want to mess up the name. Bead head woolly. Most effective, as far as streamers go, most effective streamer I've ever used. You can also dead drift it like a nymph. But I would highly, highly recommend you have those 5 flies. In every fly fisherman's fly box, they need those 5 flies if they're fishing for trout. If you start with that, you will guaranteed catch fish. Last thing you'll need is something to hold your flies. Now, you can go with a fly box. That's fine. Or, you might find one here. You can go with the little cups, like this, like what my strike indicators are in, that you get at the fly shop. If you're new to this, and you don't have a vest, you're going out, you maybe have cargo pants and you don't want to overload yourself with stuff, put your flies in this. You're only going to have 5-6 different patterns in just a few different sizes. This is fantastic, and it's free. They give them to you at the fly shop. If you're going to go out and buy a fly box, I would recommend just right off the bat buying something like a tacky box. I know the expense is there as far as, I think these are like 35 bucks. However, they last forever because they're silicone. So instead of being foam that breaks down over time and you'll have to replace that box once every couple of years, silicone is the way to go. Okay, as far as the fishing aspect goes, that's pretty much it for the accoutrements, the accessories you need, but you do need one more thing to get fly fishing, and that's going to be wading boots. I recommend wading boots because they give you a little bit more stick while you're out there wading. They dry out a lot faster than something like tennis shoes, and they will keep you from falling down much better than those things will. Now, I'm a Corkers guy, so you can see here, these are Corkers boots. I love them because they have interchangeable soles. Really simple to swap out the soles. Again, I'm in southeast Idaho, so I'm gonna fish inside Yellowstone National Park. In the park, you can't have felt, so I have to go to a rubber wading boot. If I'm outside the park, I generally am on a felt wading sole like this, and you can just swap them out. You don't have to have 2, 3, 4 different boots to do what you want. And a lot of times I will just, like when I go to Silver Creek, I have a separate sole for Silver Creek, so I'm not tracking any invasive species, anything bad in the water to Silver Creek, to places like that are pretty much pristine. But get yourself a set of wading boots. Now those are all the things you need. I know that a lot of you guys are saying, well, you're missing something, you're missing a net. Well, you don't really need a net. You can unhook the fish right in your hands, no problem. You don't have to have a landing net. If you do want a net, get a Cortland net from Walmart. They're 30 bucks. They're soft release nets. I know it's not as cool as a fish pond net, but when you're starting out, you don't want to spend $200 on a net. Just kind of dumb. Packs, vests, all of that kind of stuff. That can come later. You're not going to have enough. You're not going to be rolling around like this your first day on the water. It's not going to look like that. You're going to have one fly box and this small amount of stuff here. You can build to this, and these are excellent. I'll actually be doing a review of this one a little bit later. This is the fish pond wading belt. But you don't need that to start off with. Just get out on the water, start fly fishing. Same thing with a vest. Vest has a little bit more room. Don't need one. Don't need the sling packs. Don't worry about that yet. Just get out there, get on the water, fish with what you have. The last thing, and this is going to be a controversial thing because I think a lot of you want me to include this in the video, would be waders. Everybody wants waders right away. I mean, they look cool, don't they, right? At least I think they look cool. My wife is shaking her head at me right now, so they don't look cool. But I think they look cool. They're really not necessary, though. Behind me, this is a freestone river, right? This is Henry's Fork. Fantastic river. I can walk out there with a set of wading boots and some gravel guards on right now because it's midsummer, and I'm going to be fine. Unless you're fishing shoulder seasons or wintertime, just get wet, man. It's going to save you $200, $300. Just get wet, walk out there, go wet wade, put on your boots. You'll have a good time. You don't need waders right away. That's something that you can consider doing later. Guys, honestly, I think that's it. I hope this was short enough and to the point because I'm a lame-o, so Might be a little bit longer than what it usually is. However, what I would like you to do now, if you like this video, you learned something, please like the video, please go subscribe. It really helps us out. If you want anything on this table here, anything that I've mentioned in this video, and I'll also include links to like my favorite waders, that kind of stuff, as well as the gravel guards, which I forgot at home because sometimes you forget things. I'll go ahead and leave all those links down in the description below, so if you want any of that stuff, you can get that. But that's it, guys. I think we're done for the day. I really hope this helped you new fly fishermen out. Have a good day.